And a good Monday night, everyone. Thanks for joining for this Tropics After Dark. Of course, we're talking about the latest thing out there to track out in the Atlantic, close to the Leeward Islands, Lesser Antilles right now. There it is, potential tropical cyclone number 6. Not officially a depression or storm just yet, but expected to become that as we move through the next few days or so. And this looks like it's going to take a track through the islands again. And has a chance to get into the Gulf and affect someone along the Gulf Coast. Most likely, it looks like Florida right now. But again, we got to track this and see if that's going to be the case. Moving forward with this. How's everybody doing tonight? Thanks for joining, Christina. Hello from Denham Springs. Jessica, thanks for joining tonight. Georgette as well. And Pam, good evening to you. Angie, hello from Mississippi. And Petey, thanks for joining tonight. Let's take a look at the latest on number 6. Good evening, Ron. Here's a look at what we're seeing right now as far as the infrared loop. And, it's not a very big system right now. There it is, just approaching the Leeward Islands. And not a very well-developed system. That's why it's not officially a storm or a depression just yet. But it has the potential to become one. And that's why we're calling it potential tropical cyclone. So, they added that, in the last few years. It gets confusing for some, and even I get confused sometimes, but they do it so they can issue some watches and warnings. When it's an invest, they're not able to do that. Once it's sort of official, they can issue watches and warnings. So yeah, that's why they do it. Anyway, there it is, and you can take a look now. That's the infrared satellite. Again, not very impressive at this point. And looking at the what I like to call the Mardi Gras map, the purple, green, gold thing. We see the dry air there, the gold colors. That's the dry air. And tropical systems don't like dry air. We like dry air when around tropical systems because it keeps them at bay and it calms them down a little bit. And that's why we're not really going to see much development from this over the next few hours or so. Look at all this gold, right? And it's very close proximity to this storm right now. And so we're probably seeing this thing wrapping in a little bit, right? It's not evident if you look at the satellite, but it's really just around it right now, and it's not going to allow it to develop too much in the next 24 hours or so. So good news right now for the Leeward Islands. It doesn't look like they have something very strong to deal with. Moving forward, though, it could be a different story, although the National Hurricane Center doesn't think that it's going to be. They really don't forecast this to get more than 40 to 50 miles per hour through the islands. And there's a reason for that, right? It's going to have this dry air to deal with. It's going to have the islands to deal with. When you have dry air and land interaction, that makes it very tough for anything to, develop. And so a couple of things working against this system moving forward here. And you can kind of look at the GFS model, and this is a look at the the relative humidity, the dry air. You can see the storm right there on the GFS, looking very similar to what we just looked at. Here it is, right? There's the dry air to the west of it, and the moist air to the east is that green color, right? The dry air is the gold. The green color is going to be the moister air. And so we can kind of see how this evolves here moving forward. And, we push this forward here into the next couple of days. Look at that dry air still. You can kind of see it here wrapping in right there, right? Going into tomorrow afternoon. There's a dry air actually wrapping into the system. And so that's going to keep it at bay a bit, right? Not expecting much rapid development with that. That's good news. Let's move it forward now a little bit more. Kind of an open wave maybe here by Wednesday morning. Now we're starting to see a little bit of that dry air dissipate a little bit off to the west here. And now we're just seeing open wave here, right? Not much development into Thursday morning. And, as it crosses the islands here, it's going to be interacting with a lot of land masses, some mountainous land masses there. And, that shouldn't, allow it to develop too much. But as we get to the Florida Straits, now the air, there's a little bit of dry air at this point in the Gulf, maybe, right? But there's a big swath of moisture here, right? More moisture than dry air at this point. Let me switch over here to the to the run at 6 p.m. Don't have all the frames from the midnight run just yet. But here we go into the islands, and now we're seeing a lot of moisture here, right around Florida. This is Saturday morning, by the way, and I'll show you the cone in just a second. But this is Saturday morning. Lots of moisture approaching Florida. Is it a depression? Is it a storm at that point? Maybe or maybe not, right? One thing's for sure: a lot of moisture is going to surge in this direction. But we move forward here. So, at this point, all right, so there's a low now again, right? This is by Sunday morning. And now GFS is saying, well, now at this point, maybe at this point it's shedded all that dry air. It has conditions that are marginally conducive. Maybe we'll get a depression or a storm at this point. The next name would be Fred on the list. So here we go now, and then the GFS kind of hooks it. Maybe it develops, but look, y'all, we're only dealing with what the GFS indicates as a 10,006 millibar storm. That's weak, right? Main thing would be what we've seen lately right now, at least for this season. If this plays out like this, you got dry air, maybe a little bit of dry air wrapping in from the western side. So the west side's all clear, and then there's all that moisture here in the east. This has been a common story or theme, and it happens a lot with the season, right? We have it early season. You got nothing to the west, lots of moisture to the east. We're getting to the point now when we get into August. We're almost to mid-August, but now we get to mid to late into September. I think these scenarios may get a little bit, it may not happen too much anymore, where the conditions should become a little bit more conducive for these things to actually start wrapping around. Right now, though, it looks like with this one, we're not quite to the heart of hurricane season yet. This one's not going to have perfect conditions to work with, which is good. We may see one of those storms again with dry air to the west and a lot of the moisture off to the east of it, okay? So it might not be a perfect looking storm again, but do expect around Florida, if it does play out by the end of this weekend into early next week, lots of rainfall falling around that area. And the GFS takes it, somewhere close to the Big Bend, east of Panama City, and then in. But notice this moisture, all right? We got to watch this moving in. So hard to predict how this will play out almost a week out, more than a week out now. But a setup like this, with a storm not moving too much, you'd have a center here and a lot of this moisture plume here to the east. We'll have to just watch that to see if that causes any kind of rainfall problems. So way too far in the future to know for sure how that would happen, but that's how the GFS is playing that out right now. The European model, kind of the same, right? You can see this open wave moving through the islands, and then once it hits around the Florida Straits, we have some development there, and it takes it into kind of the same similar area, right? So not like last time where the storms were far apart at this point as far as landfall locations. They're in pretty good agreement right now. So we'll see how that evolves over time. Let's look at the official forecast track from the National Hurricane Center. Not much different than what we just saw, right? And that's what you get sometimes with, tracks or models that are in pretty good agreement. We're not going to see much deviation there from the National Hurricane Center because there's really no reason to do that. This is kind of what we're seeing right now. A track through the islands somewhere. And then at some point by this weekend, this right here is 8 p.m. on Saturday. We'll see whatever this is. Is it a storm, a depression at that point? Hard to tell, but whatever it is starts moving northwest into the eastern Gulf of Mexico. Again, a more south track would take it more to the west, into the Gulf a little bit more, and the more eastern track would hook it off to Florida a little bit sooner. For now, I'd say folks in Florida, watch this closely, because at this point, for now, you are in the cone and you have the most likely chance of being impacted by this somehow. So, but like I said before, they don't really forecast this at this point to get into, we're talking 40 or 50 mile per hour tropical storm. Yes, it's nasty. You'll be impacted a little bit. But if we can keep it at 40 or 50 miles per hour, that'll be good. Even if we get 50 or 60 miles per hour, if you can get out of it with that, we don't want anything very strong this hurricane season. So that's where we're at right now with this. It's got a lot working against it right now. A lot of dry air to the west of the system. A lot of islands that it's going to be interacting with. So folks around Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic there, in Haiti there, in the western portion of the Hispaniola, will be impacted first with this into Tuesday, Wednesday. And then after that, we'll see what happens. But any U.S. impact as far as the mainland looks to be by this weekend, going into Saturday. So, but again, only forecasting at this point a tropical storm, which would be Fred. So that's the latest on this system right now. And looking at this one more time in case you joined late, this is a look at the storm right now. Again, it's not very well developed right now, not very impressive, still just a potential tropical cyclone, but it is forecast to become a storm over the next couple of days. All this dry air right now around it is going to keep it at least at bay as far as developing very rapidly. Not expecting that from this thing, at least not right now. As long as all that dry air is around it. Lots of island interaction, and then, we'll see what it looks like moving forward. The conditions could be a little bit more favorable when it gets a little bit closer to the U.S. Thank you, Sally. Appreciate that. Pamela also appreciate that as well. Let's see what we have here. How you doing tonight from Orange, Texas? Thanks for joining, Alberto. Good to see you on here. See another one off for Africa. Leroy says there's something behind this one. I think the National Hurricane Center is still tracking it. We'll watch that one as well. After this one potentially, as you look at there's a look at potential Fred, and then you see this moisture down here. I don't know, something down here maybe after that. It's not really showing up too much. We'll worry about what could become Fred first, and then we'll worry about what's after that, after this one. So we'll track this one first and foremost, but nothing really concerning behind it just yet. Not to say it couldn't become something later, but right now we'll keep an eye on this one. Yes, Angel, I did forget the sound bite. I think you're talking about the moist sound bite. I was trying to prepare for this one as fast as I could, and I didn't remember that. But yeah, next time, right? Leroy says another weaker storm, the more west it goes. That is usually the case a lot of times. It tends to not feel the upper level winds. Sometimes it doesn't hit that weakness, so sometimes they do drift a little bit more to the west. So we'll watch that, Leroy. We'll see if that's the case with this one. Thanks for watching, Brandy. Jerry from Monticello, thank you. Let's see, we have Bay St. Louis Crystal. Thanks for watching. Angel, good to see you on here as always. Not taking my eyes off of this storm till it's gone. Nope, always a good thing to do. Watch this one, right? There's not much to update tonight. I just wanted to kick on tonight and just kind of update you at least as what we're looking at right now, and this is the latest on the cone. But again, right now it is approaching the Lesser Antilles tropical storm. I believe those are warnings, right? Tropical storm watches only up for them. That's true. It's not officially a tropical storm yet. The blue are tropical storm warnings. And then, yeah, moving forward, we'll see what happens in this area. That's not until this weekend, though. Late this weekend to this weekend, we'll keep a close eye on this. So potentially could become Fred. Look, they're forecasting this to become Fred by overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. So we'll see if that happens. I think they're going to start flying into it tomorrow, too, which helps out. They can kind of locate if there's a center or not and take some wind measurements. So we'll see what they say. But there's a look at the latest cone. I think this is very similar. Was it Elsa? I think that was the one we were tracking that was going to Florida, and everybody was saying, oh, it's going to Disney World. This is very similar to that one, right? To Elsa, I believe. Would you have the track to the west and then kind of a hook off to the northwest toward Florida? So I think this was very similar to the last one we were tracking. So I'll keep an eye on this one. I'll continue to keep you all posted on the page, but that's a look at the latest on potential tropical cyclone number 6, forecast to become Fred. Really in the next few hours into tomorrow, and it's going to be traveling through the island chain. For now, it doesn't look like it's going to become very strong, at least in the near term, because it's dealing with dry air. It's dealing with a lot of island interaction. We'll see what happens, though, when it gets to the Florida Straits, and into potentially the Gulf of Mexico. I think if it comes off here and goes a little bit more to the west into the open water here, then it maybe has more of a chance to develop into something maybe a little bit stronger down the line. If it continues to hug the coast there, to the east, close to the Florida coast, well, I'm not going to have much time to develop there, right? It's going to move into the peninsula, cause a lot of rainfall, maybe some surge along the coast, but I think if it would go more west into this part of the Gulf, we might have a chance to get it to develop a little bit more. But that's way in the future. That's into this weekend, so we'll worry about that. No problem, Jerry. Thanks for joining. No problem, Angel. So thanks for joining tonight. That's the latest on this thing. That's not really much right now, but could become something later on. So thanks for watching tonight. This Tropics After Dark. I'll continue to keep you all posted on the page. Stay with the page for more updates. I'll continue to go live as long as the storm is a potential threat to the Gulf of Mexico. All right, y'all. Have a good evening. And thanks for following, and continue to follow the page for all the updates on